Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my Endless Diary Tales channel? Thank you so much. After the university entrance exam results were announced, my nephew came to me for help choosing a school. I casually suggested a few lesser-known colleges. In my past life, he rejected the schools I chose, and later his girlfriend's family, Sophia, looked down on him for his low academic standing. From then on, he always resented me, and my brother and sister-in-law blamed me for not being dedicated. Eventually, he heartlessly killed me and Sophia. So this time I felt like I was just guiding him. "Auntie, could you help me check out some schools? Aren't you a teacher?" he asked. "You're definitely more knowledgeable about these things. I just graduated high school. How could I have your vision?" He grabbed my hand, shaking it pleadingly. I subconsciously pulled my hand back, silently staring at him without speaking. In my past life, after getting his scores, he also came to me daily for school advice. But this is a matter that affects one's entire life. If I chose wrong, I'd face endless blame. I feared our families would turn against each other, so I refused to help. He could ask his parents instead. Moreover, what field did he want to study? What did he plan to do in the future? I had no idea, but he nonchalantly said, "I trust you. Just find me an easy-to-get-a-job field." Seeing his persistence, I felt a bit touched. Our relationship wasn't particularly close, yet he entrusted this important decision to me. Not wanting to let him down, I asked many people for advice, bought countless school selection guides, and spent all night meticulously compiling information. The most critical detail was his score. It wasn't ideal, even far below the university baseline. I began searching for suitable colleges, but while I racked my brain, he stayed up all night gaming, completely indifferent to his future. Finally, I found the best fit school among over 10. Though its ranking wasn't high, it had strong specialties. If he studied hard for 3 years, he'd surely learn a lot. But when I announced the result, he showed clear contempt. "Why a college? I trusted you, and this is how you treat me? I must have misjudged you." With one sentence, he invalidated all my efforts. Ironically, he ended up attending the school I chose. Now, seeing his eager face, I coldly said, "Have you checked your score? 260 points. If you don't retake, you can only choose a college program. No matter how I help you, the outcome won't change. Why waste my time?" My tone hid no disgust. His face immediately darkened, but because he still needed my help, he had to back down. "Auntie, why are you saying that? Even if my score only qualifies for a college, you'll definitely find the perfect fit for me. I've never asked you for anything before. Can't you agree to this small thing?" The small thing he mentioned was the result of my exhausting efforts day and night. Yet in the end, I received no thank you, only blame. This time I completely lost patience, abruptly kicking him out without hesitation. That night, my brother, his father, took the initiative to approach. "Tell me about the boy. Try to help him a bit. We're family after all. Once he makes money, he'll definitely repay you. You being so tense isn't good for anyone." In reality, my brother and I had a good relationship growing up, but after he married my sister-in-law, our families drifted apart. She has no education, only finishing elementary school. Every time she saw me, she'd mock me sarcastically. "Oh my, isn't this the most educated person in our family?" At first I didn't mind, but over time I realized she disliked me. Eventually, despite living nearby, we never visited. This time, because of the university application issue, they approached me for the first time. I stared intently at my brother, wanting to see if his words were sincere. After a long while I sneered. "Are there things you say to yourself and just assume are okay? You don't need to bring them here to coax me. You know what your son is like, right? Your wife dotes on him like a treasure, and look at the result." During the funeral, he was thrilled to have more days to game. A person like that not resenting me for choosing his school is already lucky. How could I expect gratitude? It's ridiculous. The boy was the family's prized grandson, coddled by my mother from birth, held so carefully he might break, kept in her mouth lest he melt. Yet when she passed, he shed no tears, secretly hiding to game. When caught, he angrily said, "You're dead too, what's the point of crying? Let me play a few more rounds." Even then, I should have realized his character was flawed. In his world, only himself mattered. If things went his way, fine, but if not, he'd surely retaliate. In my past life, because I didn't see this, I died miserably at his hands. My brother recalled the funeral, his face drained of blood, then quietly left. I thought this matter was over, that our families would continue to avoid conflict. But the next morning, my sister-in-law brought the boy to my house. As soon as they entered, she casually plopped onto the sofa, eating sunflower seeds and saying, "Sis, the boy's university application is all up to you. You know our family has no scholars. Who else can we rely on but you? Should we hire a teacher from outside and waste money? If the neighbors hear, who knows what they'd think of our relationship?" I'd rather laugh than cry at such absurd logic. Does being a teacher mean I'm automatically responsible for this? Seeing their determined faces, I knew they wouldn't leave until they got what they wanted. A thought struck me. Since I had to fill out the application anyway, why bother searching for good schools? I just casually finished the task. I flipped through a few pages of the guide, frowning. It's not that I don't want to choose a good school, but with this score, no matter how hard I try, he can only get into a college. For years, my sister-in-law bragged that her son was a genius, fooling many neighbors. Everyone thought he was a prodigy, quiet but brilliant. But now that the exam results were out, her lies were about to be exposed. She was too high to let this happen, so she came to me implying I should pull strings to get him into a regular university. In my past life, when I chose a college for him, she stormed to my house, standing at my door and berating me. "My son was always a top student. What's your motive in making him attend a college you've ruined? Over a decade of his hard work is destroyed. You're jealous of my son's success." She blamed me for everything, acting like his entire education was destroyed by me. This was her cunning move. If anyone asked why her high-scoring son attended a college, she could shift all blame to me. I'd be criticized while she and the boy could stand aside, even taking the opportunity to trample me further. Because of this, neighbors gossiped about me. Rumors spread so widely they reached my school. Colleagues who already disliked me used this chance to accuse me. The principal called me into his office, his tone full of implication. "Vice Principal, what's your character like? I understand very well, but now not only teachers but even parents know about this. In just 2 days, I've received numerous calls demanding to switch classes for their children. You should take a break for a while, wait for things to settle, then come back." I vaguely returned home, and my sister-in-law didn't miss the chance to mock me. Heaven sees all. Those who do immoral things will eventually face retribution. I was stunned, looking at her triumphant face. If I recall correctly, before the exam results, they always boasted the boy scored very high, 985, 211. It's a piece of cake. If he really achieved that, I could have suggested several schools. After all, many of my students have graduated from prestigious universities. But 260 points? I've never seen such a score. I felt no embarrassment tearing off the last mask of dignity I'd maintained for her over the years. I'd always played along in their drama to keep the peace between our families, but she felt no gratitude. "Does our family need your kindness? My son's future is our business. It's ridiculous for outsiders like you to interfere. When they didn't need me, I was an outsider. When they did, I was family." In the end, I agreed to help the boy choose a school but set one condition. He must come here daily. After all, it was his school choice, and if he wasn't satisfied, he could tell me. Such a simple request. My sister-in-law naturally agreed immediately. So while the boy was up all night gaming and sleeping like the dead, he was dragged here by his mother. As soon as he entered, he grumbled, "Why do I have to come here again? Just casually choose a school for me." Seeing his listless face, I just smiled without speaking. This was to have evidence to counterattack if they later blamed me. Although I said to have him come daily, he just sat idly gaming. A few days later, I gave him a notebook filled with notes carefully selected based on his requests. The boy, seeing the dense annotations, finally showed his first smile. Watching his cheerful back as he left, I faintly curled my lips. If he studied the notes carefully, he'd realize everything I wrote was meaningless. Some schools had low rankings. Others were just time wasters compared to my past life's careful selection. This time I just went through the motions. After seeing him off, I went to the school. Recently, there's an opportunity to train abroad. The principal values me, but because I live here, I've always hesitated. Though I don't want to admit it, my brother and his family are why I stayed. Having relatives nearby makes me feel secure. The principal once sincerely advised me, "You're still young with many opportunities ahead. You think you're sacrificing for family, but they might not value it. Moreover, in life, ultimately one can only rely on oneself. I'll give you time to think. Will you choose your career or family?" In the past, I chose family without hesitation, but later I realized those I considered family never truly saw me as one. Because of the rumors, I completely lost my opportunities. The principal, though regretful, was powerless. So when I approached him, he was slightly surprised. "You finally thought it through. Fill out this form. You'll be sent abroad next semester. It's called work, but in reality, I'll likely settle there permanently." I looked deeply at the principal, bowed my head, and thanked him. "Thank you, sir. Thank you for always trusting me, never giving up on me. Even in my past life, you ran around to clear my name." The principal waved his hand. No need for formalities. After filling out the form, I returned home to find my brother and his family waiting. As soon as they saw me, my sister-in-law burst into dramatic tears. "Sis, I've suffered raising this family since marrying in. If you're dissatisfied, take it out on me, but why harm my son?" She knew I'm reserved, so she chose the time when neighbors were off work and students were home to corner me at my door, crying loudly. My brother and the boy glared at me angrily. Soon many onlookers gathered. Just like in my past life, everyone pointed and gossiped. "Isn't she a teacher? How could she be so vicious? This is her own nephew. How could she treat him like this? What about her students?" My sister-in-law glanced at me triumphantly. Everything was going according to her plan. I calmly looked at her and smiled. "What are you talking about? This is my own nephew. How could I harm him? Wasn't it you all who approached me about school choices? He scored 260. No matter how I tried, he could only get into a college. Moreover, hasn't he been coming to my house these past few days to discuss this? If you're unhappy, why not say so earlier? Why wait until now?" I deliberately paused, leaving room for others to think. The neighbors aren't fools. They've witnessed the family's conflicts. With a bit of reflection, they'd realize they were deceived by my sister-in-law. No one likes being manipulated. Plus, everyone saw the boy coming to my house daily. That day when he left smiling, I'd casually chatted with a neighbor who disliked. My sister-in-law mocked her. "You always bragged about your son's brilliance, but he only scored 260. At least my child is honest. I don't go around deceiving others with this score." Does the vice principal still have to beg for admission to Tsinghua or Peking University? My sister-in-law's face immediately turned ugly. My brother and the boy, unable to bear the scrutiny, quietly left. My sister-in-law refused to give up arguing. "My son just didn't do well this time, but what about his past achievements? Who doesn't know? Should one bad exam negate everything?" I almost laughed at her excuses. Regardless of the score, this isn't a reason to falsely accuse me. I opened the door coldly. "If you want to perform for everyone, continue out there." My sister-in-law wanted to argue but feared further ridicule, so she silently left. If she had a valid point, it would be fine, but she had none. Continuing like this, I feared she'd become the neighborhood's gossip tonight. Looking at the blinking red light of the surveillance camera, I didn't stop it. In my past life, I was manipulated by her public opinion to the point of unbearable stress. This life, they should taste that humiliation. The video of my sister-in-law's hypocritical tears unexpectedly went viral online. Many who'd experienced similar situations left comments expressing empathy. My brother's family became infamous in the neighborhood. Whenever they went out, people pointed and gossiped behind their backs. Worst of all, they received harassing calls in the middle of the night, bothered to the point of being unable to endure. Within days, they became gaunt and eventually had to sell their house and leave quietly. My brother finally approached me, pleading, "Sis, this time it's my wife's fault. We apologize. Can you help us correct this online? Say it was just a joke." Now, every day at work, I feel colleagues gossiping behind my back. Little Fu is about to start school. I can't let him carry the stain. Out of brotherly affection, he asked for my help. If he hadn't mentioned our bond, I wouldn't be this angry. But he deliberately brought it up. If he truly valued our relationship, Where was he when I was falsely accused? When I was insulted by outsiders? When I was killed by my own nephew? In truth, he stopped being the brother in my memories years ago. I just clung to the past, unwilling to face reality. Why should I help them? Does he really not know his son's score? Does he really not know why his wife approached me? He knows everything but stays silent. I considered him a brother, but did he ever see me as a sister? If apologies worked, why have police? If he wants to apologize, do it publicly, not just for show. Seeing my resolve, my brother's face darkened. Do you really want to cut ties so completely? I lazily replied, just curling my lip and turning away. He angrily kicked the wall, swore a few times, then left. But I knew he'd agree to my demand because at that time, he was the only one working in their family. If he lost his job, they couldn't. Unfortunately, the girl's family looked down on him and wanted to obstruct their relationship. Thinking of my past life, I booked a flight back home after 5 years, stepping on this land again. Relying on my past memories, I quickly found the boy's current girlfriend, Sophia. Sophia initially refused to meet me, but after persistent calls, she reluctantly came out to see me. Her tone was unfriendly. I know you're my boyfriend's aunt, but I don't understand why you're looking for me. You betrayed his family before, and now you dare to come back? Or do you want me to speak well of you so they'll forgive you? I had anticipated the boy would distort the truth, but facing her, I was still stunned for a moment. Memories I thought buried suddenly flooded back like a bursting dam. I stared at her and slowly asked, "Who told you these things?" If I recall, the whole truth is still online. You can check for yourself. I really don't understand why you're blaming the victim instead of the perpetrator. Sophia impatiently said, "You know what happened that year. Just say why you're here." The image of the vibrant young woman before me gradually matched the pale face lying in blood from my past life. In my past life, provoked by the boy, Sophia also hated me, but she never actually harmed me. Every time she saw me, she deliberately turned away. But once, when a stranger insulted me, she surprisingly spoke up for me. Such a filthy mouth needs to be washed. Dare say another word. I'm online now, and the person immediately fell silent and left. I stared at Sophia in surprise, unable to believe she'd defend me. But when I looked back, she still showed disdain. Don't overthink it. Whoever disrespects you that day, I'd help with that. From Sophia's sentence, I was determined to pull her out of the quagmire. I got straight to the point. You might have prejudice against me and not believe what I'm about to say, but I'll take responsibility for every word. My nephew has had a psychological illness since childhood, enjoying torturing and killing animals, and now bullying classmates. You two might love each other now, but you should think about your future. After speaking, I pushed the prepared documents toward her. Sophia frowned, hesitated for a moment, but finally picked them up. The more she read, the uglier her face became. Can you guarantee all of this is true? I could sense she was wavering. I'd investigated Sophia. Her parents were university professors, her family happy and well-educated, shaping her into a kind, brave person always helping the weak. If she knew the boy's dark past, she'd surely reconsider their relationship. But perhaps I underestimated her. Sophia put down the documents and pushed them back to me, her tone calm but firm. Whether these are true or false, I won't easily break up with my boyfriend. In 3 years, I don't believe his character could change that much. I'll ask him directly, but I won't doubt him because of a few outsiders' words. I suddenly realized I'd been too naive, overlooking their 3-year bond or perhaps letting past memories cloud my judgment. Watching Sophia leave, I sighed. What if all this happens to you? What if after marriage he abuses you, takes away your phone and computer, leaving you no way to call for help? Would you still think it's fine? In my past life, my brother's family hid the boy's illness from Sophia, deliberately delaying premarital health checks. Eventually, Sophia sensed something was wrong and came to me for information. Not wanting her deceived, I told her everything. That day as she left, each step carried panic. A few days later, I heard her family decided to call off the engagement. Her parents were already dissatisfied with the boy, feeling his background in academics didn't match their daughter. But because Sophia loved him, they reluctantly agreed. Now, knowing his psychological illness, it was the last straw. In the following days, I constantly heard noises of destruction from my brother's house. The boy and Sophia had broken up. I breathed a sigh of relief, understanding my brother's family well. If Sophia truly married him, it would be like a lamb entering a tiger's mouth. But I didn't expect the boy, somehow hearing the news, discovered I'd revealed the secret. He arranged to meet me and Sophia, saying he wanted to resolve everything peacefully. It was a trap. In the cafe unguarded, we drank coffee laced with sleeping drugs. When we woke, we were chained in an abandoned factory. The boy stood beside us, silently sharpening a knife. The sound of the knife scraping was deafening, piercing my eardrums, making my heart race. If Sophia still held hope, I was truly desperate. In my past life, I'd seen the boy torture animals to death with the same hobby of carefully sharpening a sharp knife. I tried to reason with him, but he did as he pleased. As the knife pierced my chest, I felt intense pain, collapsing to the ground, struggling to look up at the boy's maniacal smile as if he'd waited for this day for ages. My words made Sophia stop, frowning at me. "What are you rambling about? If he's really the person you describe, why didn't I notice in 3 years? No matter how good someone is at pretending, they can't hide it for 3 years without slipping up." Clearly, she still couldn't believe me. I didn't argue, just quietly said, "You can tell him about today. He'll reveal his true self." After hearing this, Sophia didn't take it to heart. But the next morning, I received a frantic call from her. Her voice was fast and trembling. "I need to see you now." I wasn't surprised. My brother's family had distorted the truth before, but what they'd done couldn't be erased by a few lies. Now that I'd planted a seed of doubt in Sophia's heart, she'd no longer trust the boy completely. A small slip-up and she'd surely notice something was wrong. She wouldn't make a scene immediately but would quietly come to me as she had no one else to trust. When I met Sophia again, she was completely different from yesterday. Her eyes were sunken, clothes wrinkled. Clearly, she'd suffered a lot. "Huge shock last night. What really happened that year, and why did you come to me? What do you want from me? What benefit does helping me bring you?" She had too many questions, but I didn't want to answer all of them. 1, because I didn't know the stage of her relationship with the boy, and 2, I feared she'd ruin my plan. But when I glanced out the window and saw a figure pass by, I knew my plan had succeeded. I calmly said, "I help you not because you're special. I'd help anyone else too." But Sophia clearly doesn't trust me, still looking at me with suspicion. At this point, I no longer cared about her. I walked outside, and in a corner, the boy stood secretly watching Sophia. He hadn't expected my sudden appearance. Quickly regaining composure, his face darkened. "What do you want? You've caused enough trouble for my family. Is this still not enough? You must destroy my entire family to be satisfied." Seeing me seriously considering this, his face grew uglier. "What did you tell my girlfriend?" We were still discussing our wedding the day before, but the next day she suddenly wanted to break up. "If you wanted to leave home, just stay away forever. Why come back and ruin me again? You destroyed me once before. Now you want to do it again." Every word blamed me entirely, not mentioning his own crimes or deception of Sophia. I smiled meaningfully. "What's wrong?" "Scared. I said something I shouldn't, but if your relationship was truly strong, would a few words from me break it?" I paused, then continued. "Also, if you still want to use the same tactics from 4 years ago to threaten me, go ahead." After speaking, I turned and left. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw the boy's face darken further, but this still wasn't enough. In the following days, I almost met Sophia daily. Even a fool could tell our relationship wasn't normal. The boy couldn't bear it, bringing flowers daily to wait under Sophia's office building, thinking himself sincere but actually annoying her. No matter how patient she couldn't endure being harassed daily. Finally, for the first time in public, Sophia gave the boy a clear answer. "Can you stop bothering me? Besides making me hate you more, what else does it achieve? Or do you really not know why we broke up? Do you want me to say it outright?" The boy, of course, didn't dare let Sophia reveal the truth in public, so he hung his head and left dejectedly. But because of this, in front of so many indifferent and mocking gazes, he felt extremely humiliated, his anger growing daily. One day, as Sophia and I were walking, we both received a message from the boy. "Let's end this properly. After all, it's 3 years of feelings. We can't just let go immediately." Seeing Sophia waver, I took the initiative to lead her to the location the boy had arranged. Before entering, I saw him fiddling with something on the table. It seemed he still wanted to repeat what happened in our past life. When I opened my eyes again, Sophia and I were chained in the familiar abandoned factory, the scene once haunting my memories. Theories made my heart strangely calm, but unlike our past life, the boy wasn't sharpening his knife with a smile. He just coldly observed me for a while, then kicked me hard, grabbed my hair and dragged me. Why do you keep resisting me? I truly don't understand. I'm your own nephew. Why must you harm me? You only feel satisfied seeing me suffer, don't you? The pain made me unable to speak. Sophia had woken up, her eyes full of horror, staring at the boy. He threw me aside and approached her. Why did you break up with me? Do you also look down on me like your parents did? I treated you too well, making you think I'm easy to bully. Just as the boy was about to strike, the door was suddenly kicked open by police. They acted swiftly, easily restraining him before being led away by a female officer. I still heard him shouting, "I won't forgive you. You two dare to betray me? I won't let you off." Sophia trembled like a frightened rabbit, not even daring to look back. I tried to stay calm. Kick the boy. Go ahead, I'll wait. Let's see if you won't forgive me or I won't forgive you. If you want to taste today's suffering again, keep coming after me. The boy, who'd been shouting, suddenly fell silent. He was always one to bully the weak. Before leaving, Sophia unexpectedly called me back. Could you ask your parents something?
Eve investigated.
You're now a senior lecturer at a prestigious university. You shouldn't need to return here yet. You suddenly came back seemingly just to ruin my relationship with the boy and save me from a tragedy. Recalling what Sophia had said to me in my past life, I didn't take it to heart, just waving it off as accumulating virtue. In the future, when loving someone, look closely. Don't turn love into charity, where the other party doesn't feel your love, but thinks they're so great, they can make you lower yourself to love them. Seeing her embarrassed expression, I just smiled. Anyway, after this, she'd mature more. Even if I didn't say it, her parents would surely keep reminding her, fearing she'd fall into the same trap again. The boy was sentenced by the court, and I attended the trial, quietly observing the entire process. When the gavel fell, I truly felt relieved. From now on, no matter what I do, I won't repeat the tragic end of my past life. I'll step toward a bright future that belongs to me. Thank you all for listening to the story. Don't forget to follow for the latest stories.